What's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Creative Digest, where we sit down and we talk with other creators and creatives and talk about their processes and their experiences. Today, I'm joined with Molly.
Hi.
Why do I not know your last name?
My last name is Mitchell.
Molly Mitchell.
Yes.
I literally couldn't have told you that, so that's honestly my bad.
You're fine. I had one of my very, very close friends for the first 2 years we were friends had no idea what my last name was.
Oh, shoot.
Somebody asked her in front of me once, and she went, "It's Smith, right?" And I was like, "Who told you that?"
What guess did you make that it was Smith? No, that's amazing. Do you know my last name?
Francis.
Wow. Now I feel like a bad friend. That's...
You're fine. I've just seen it on class assignments, and it's my younger sister's first name. So
oh, okay. So
it sticks.
It rings. Yeah. No, I just thought I had a memorable name. That sucks. No. No, so Molly, we
Yes.
met in screenwriting.
We did.
Intro to screenwriting with
Yes.
Sean. I don't even know his last name.
Ayers.
Ayers. Yeah. Well, he told us not to ever remember it.
You're
so
right. Yeah.
I didn't. Very intentionally. That man, I mean, I hope he listens to this one day because
Shout out Sean.
he's the GOAT, literally.
He really is.
Sometimes I think he's a student, like a peer of mine. I'm like, oh, wait, no, hold on. I have to respect you like a professor. Sorry.
Yeah, it's...
When
he walked in the first day, I thought he was someone in our class.
Literally. Because he has like these like wired headphones running
Yeah.
through his t-shirt every day.
Yeah.
I could swear, like, I don't know if he's ever used an ironing board. I mean, he's the best. I love him.
No, and there's like another guy in the class that's like older, like upper 30s.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
So,
Jeff.
like, when
I thought
walked
he was
in,
the professor.
I was like, that must be Sean.
Yeah.
And then it was not Sean.
Yeah. Jeff, he's a good guy. He's quiet, though.
I haven't spoken to him at all, but he seems cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, he's quiet.
Mhm.
But I've talked to him about his, like, brother, and he has, like, sounds like he has some resentment towards his brother.
Oh, shit.
I don't know what it is, yeah. But, so the purpose of this podcast, right?
Yes.
Me asking you to come on in the wee hours of the night.
5 p.m. on a Monday.
5 p.m. on a Monday. Yeah, the wee hours. Wait, what was I going to ask? No, I asked you in the wee hours of the night.
Yes.
It was like
you did.
midnight when we were at Highland.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was referring to. No. So purpose of the podcast, though, is, you know, obviously in the intro, sitting down with creatives, talking processes, experiences, of course. So I want to know how you, as your bio on Instagram says, film student, film major with bangs or something like
Yes,
that. Where did that come from? Where did film major with bangs come from? Where did you get your start?
Well, the with bangs started because everyone in my friend group was like a humanities major with bangs. So we would jokingly be like, "Shut up, you're a journalism major with bangs." Like, so that was like a running joke. But like the film major part, I don't know, probably started when I was pretty little.
Okay.
And I've just always kind of gravitated towards storytelling. And my grandma lived with me and my family for like a good portion of like my childhood, and she had a bunch of like storybooks and nursery rhymes that she would teach me, and so just like stories were a very big part of my life growing up, and like she would always encourage me to like tell stories like that I would make up, and she would always want to hear them. And so like that like was kind of the first like encouragement I had of like someone being like, "No, tell me what you thought of." And as I got older, I just like started kind of exploring more mediums with storytelling. And like when in like the 3rd grade, I wrote my first script, except I didn't write a script. I made my mom come down to the basement, turn on the computer, and I didn't know how to type yet because we learned typing in 4th grade, not 3rd.
Yeah.
So my mom had to like just sit there and type whatever I told her. And I actually found the script over the summer when I was like packing up my childhood bedroom, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Because there's no plot.
No,
there's no plot. I'm pretty sure.
Is
like,
it even formatted?
No.
Like
there's like, there's no plot. There's no like, it's literally just like people in high school existing. And I'm pretty sure I was a really big fan of the Disney Channel show Shake It Up at
Yeah,
the time.
that was
So I had
crazy.
like a Shake It Up like scene in the script for no reason.
We need to recover this.
Oh my god,
script.
maybe
I need it.
we can all like at the end of the semester like do a
Table
read
read, yeah.
of the script.
That'd be gas.
But yeah, and so like that was the first like script that I wrote, and it was like going to be like a movie I made with like all the other like third graders. It never happened because we were in third grade and I didn't know what I was doing. But like nobody ever told me that I couldn't do that. So like growing up, it wasn't like, oh, this is like something that's not going to make me any money. This is something that like I can't do with my life. And like I would always like share what I was writing with my sisters, and like my parents were really excited to hear about what I was writing. And so like it was never, my dad would like make jokes about like, oh, you should like, you know, like I have 2 sisters, and he's like, one of you is going to be a doctor, one's going to be a lawyer, and one's going to be an engineer. You guys can pick which one you want, but those are the 3 career options. And we were like, no. Thanks though. Like my older sister is she studied philosophy, politics, and economics for
That's
a while.
dope.
Yeah, and now she is going to go back to school to study peace mediation, which she's really, really excited about. And then I'm a film student, so kind of straying from our dad's dreams, but like it's never been something where he's like, you know, how dare you not become a doctor? Like he's like, okay, yeah, like this is what they want to do instead. Like it was always just kind of a joke growing up that it's like you're gonna be a doctor.
That's good. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I noticed that a lot, like, because a lot of people say that like people are getting into the creative industry, or at least there's such a desire for it. Like especially like my younger brother, or like even my younger sister who's like really young. She's like, yo, like I want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're 6. Like like no. But then like also like it just like made me laugh because like we were kind of the first generation who like was allowed to think that. Like, and I thought it was a testament to like the media culture, as in like it was a testament to just the fact that we're the first generation to grow up with smartphones in our pockets the entire time type thing.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, I guess my first phone was a slide phone. And it was a chocolate. It was called a chocolate phone.
I never had like a like one of those, but like I was allowed to play with my parents' old phones after they got a new one.
Yeah.
So when my parents got like their BlackBerries, like I got their flip phone, and it didn't work, but like I carried it with me everywhere.
Let me tell you about the BlackBerry.
Oh my God.
Gosh. Well, because I growing up, I finally put 2 and 2 together that the BlackBerry, I mean, that was the phone.
Yeah.
Because the first iPhone didn't come out till 2007. So it's like we had already like had a childhood up to this point.
Yeah.
And then an iPhone came out. So yeah, the BlackBerry was it.
It makes me laugh really hard when like older like members of like, it's not so much members of like Gen X, because like they raised a lot of Gen Zers, so like
I don't know any of these generation. I know us and millennials.
Gen X is like our parents.
Oh. Okay.
And then it's like baby boomers, Gen X,
Got
millennials, and then Gen Z. And so from a lot of like older millennials, I feel like we get stuff that's like, oh, not that you would know what a VHS is. Like I grew up watching like everything on VHS, like up until I was like 6.
Yeah.
Like,
Blu-ray and like the like standardization of CDs, like everybody acts like that had an era. Like no, that came and went faster than like it was like basically VHS for a while, CDs, and then like now just the digital streaming age.
Yeah. So like that just always makes me like giggle a little bit when they're like, you don't know anything, and I'm like, I have like a stack this tall of Cat in the Hat VHS tapes in my childhood bedroom as we speak.
My one tattoo is like I guess I don't know what you would call that, but like the command portion of a VHS player. So like it's rewind, stop, play, fast forward, like that stuff. But that came from using it growing up. Like that didn't, like you can't tell me when you popped in one of them what is it called? Like just Disney movies, whether it be VHS or CD, and it would be like Peter Pan going crazy, and he'd be like, coming to a theater near you, or whatever.
God.
Do you remember those?
Yes.
It was like,
yeah, I
those
like
are
I
sick.
can like hear the like hum in my mind and like see the like I was so excited whenever that came on because I was like, that means we're halfway through the previews and that the movie's gonna start soon.
Yep.
And like,
and there was this one production company that I always remember thinking was really cool. It was like THX or something. And
oh yeah,
it was just like it made the really loud
yeah,
like noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was gas, but then like I grew up and I'm like, where do these people go?
I know.
Like what are they making these days?
No, one of my favorite ever like one of those like
intros? Like
yeah,
production
intro
intros?
production tags or whatever. I guess it's like the like film production company's version of like a tag in like a rap song.
Yeah, yeah.
Like your
Oh, yeah,
producer
yeah, yeah.
tag. Mine was I really liked the like Troublemaker ones that came before the Spy Kid movies.
I don't know
Spy
if I remember
Kids
these, but
was my entire childhood. I can quote that franchise from memory. But like they like it's like this little boy who's smiling very deviously at the camera. And he's on like a roller coaster and it like
why do
the
I
roller
not know
coaster is
about
like
this?
the Troublemaker like logo, and I always liked that, but like I've never seen it with like another movie, and that always made me sad because I was like, that's kind of gas. Like,
yeah, we should
more
buy
people should use that.
buy the production company just so we can use it.
Yes, with the $3 I have to my name. Let's do
Literally,
it.
I'm so broke in college. It's so bad. But I mean, hey, it's whatever. Who needs
Yeah.
money anyway, huh? I'm getting an education.
Exactly. In film.
I'm getting a film education. I'm gonna make all my money back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, like you could. It's really a gamble.
Yeah,
It's either
it
like
is.
I'm gonna live broke for the rest of my life, or I'm gonna make so much money. There's really no in between.
Yeah, to quote my father, if all else fails, marry rich. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I need to get on that. I need to get on that. No, we completely derailed from parents these days. Right?
Yeah.
Parents these days, I think they're the reason, like just to wrap it up, they're the reason that like so many people now feel comfortable to do arts and like pursue this, right? Like I have friends who have actually no, I haven't had them on the podcast, but I recorded him for something else.
Yeah.
And he literally, like, one of his answers to me was like, I was like, have you ever thought about, like, quitting your major? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, why? And he was like, it got hard and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, but why didn't you quit? And he was like, because, like, my parents would think less of me if I didn't have a degree. I'm like, yo, like, parents still think that way? Like, that's such an outdated way of thinking.
It's funny because, like, and my parents wouldn't think less of me or my sisters if, like, any of us didn't, like, want a degree, but, like, their one, like, stipulation kind of is, like, we go to college. They're like, you can study what you want, but you have to get a degree.
Yeah, I mean, especially in their day and age, right? Like in their hiring market, they only know of the applications they had to fill out. Ask what degree you have, right? And it's not. Most of them are just what's your level of education? Do you have a bachelor's degree? What it's in, I don't really think. Most companies don't care what your major's in. But then like half of the media jobs that I've applied for, 0 of them ask me what my level of education is. They all say, "Let me see your work."
It definitely varies, like, field to field. And one thing that, like, my parents talked a lot about, like, I talked a lot about it with my mom because, like, kind of junior year of high school, early pandemic, I had a phase where I was like, I don't want to go to college. Like, I just really don't want to.
Yeah.
And that had a lot to do with, like, the fact that we were in a pandemic and, like, I was not in a great place mentally, and I was doing all of, like, my work through, like, Zoom classes, and I was miserable. And I was just like, I just don't want to go to college because I don't really see, like, how there's any, like, improvement if I do. Like, what am I gonna, like, I can't motivate myself to do, like, Zoom school on my own, so, like, how am I gonna do that in college? And my mom, like, her biggest thing was, like, she was like, you have to get a degree. I want you to, like, go out and, like, experience life and be independent. which you're not going to do if you stay home.
Yeah.
She was like, a degree is not a life sentence.
No.
Like, my mom has a degree in sociology, and she had a master's so that she could teach. So she was a social studies teacher for a little bit in her, like, earlier adulthood after she graduated college. And then she worked at this, like, toy shop in Boston for a really long time. And then she and my dad got married and had my sister. Then they moved back to Ohio. And, like, both of my parents have, like, really interesting career tracks to me because, like, now my mom works as, like, a researcher and recruiter for a company in, like, Centerville, Ohio. And my dad went from, like, I learned something new about my dad every day. He's, like, one of the most interesting people I've ever met. 'Cause, like, he took me on a business trip with him back in 2020, like, right before the pandemic started. We went to DC, and we were in the, like, National Gallery walking around, and he was, like, telling me about all these, like, artists and painters, and I was like, since when did you have time to, like, learn all this? And he was like, oh, I had a minor in art history.
Yo,
and I was like, since when? Like, my dad's a physicist.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was like, when did that happen? And, like, he also was a firefighter for a period of time, and, like, he was in the military for a little bit. So,
Holy
like,
cow.
yeah, like, and both of my parents went to college and, like, got, like, set degrees, but, like,
yeah,
like they say, like, a degree is not a life sentence. Just because you're studying one thing in college doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be what you spend the rest of your life doing.
Yeah, and I think that goes into, like, I'm getting a film major, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I'm minoring in communication just for the sake of doing it. More so because I thought the class that I'm taking now was really cool, but that's really it. But I say that to say it's like my, like, aspirations aren't just to make movies. Like, it is. Like, I would love to make movies, but it's like I want to own, like, a production company, and like, which I kind of do, but, you know, on a much larger scale.
Yeah.
And, like, just, you know, I don't know, like, do more with my life than just, you know, make cinema, which is, because for me, filmmaking is just, like you said, the mode of storytelling that I've chosen, right? Because, like, if I don't have film, I'll figure out a different way to tell stories. So, like, that's why I'm not married to, you know, film forever. But hopefully I am. Hopefully I'm married to film forever. But I really don't know where I was going with that. I thought I had a little, like, segue, but I didn't.
You're fine.
No.
It's been a long day.
When I found out, literally, I feel like my life is just one long day with, like, naps in between.
Oh, you're so real for that, dude. I completely understand.
It's like, it's not like I don't have any definitive, like, separation. Like, I could tell you that we were at Highland this morning and I just took a nap.
Technically,
Like,
we
technically
were
we
at
were?
Highland this morning.
Which, literally, shout out to Highland. I mean, for the fact that I didn't know that place existed is
Dude, don't shout it out. We got to keep it a secret.
mind blowing to me. Nobody listens to this. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Dang, I was hoping you'd disagree. No.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But they're so goated. The fact that, what time do they open? Like 5?
Yeah.
And they're open till 2:30 in the morning. That's so sick.
They hold a special place in my heart forever. I found them over the summer with, like, my boyfriend at the time, and I remember, like, sitting there with him, and, like, we were both, like, working on things, and I was like, I'm gonna come here all the time. And then last night was my first night there, like, since then.
I do that with a lot of places, mostly coffee shops though, because I found Rose not too long ago. Like, that took me forever to find.
Really?
Yeah, I always knew it was a place, but then I'd be like, oh, when I stumble upon it, I'll go in, right? But I could never find it.
Yeah,
like,
it's like really, like, tucked in there.
Like, they have a sign.
They do, yeah, but it's like it's attached to that one church. I always thought it was like an apartment building. Until, like, my friend took me there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is Rose Street.
Yeah. Well, I always knew where Rose Street was because we always have Rose Fest. That's it. That's the only reason I know where Rose Street is. It's because of the massive block party.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I went there and I was like, man, I'm gonna start coming here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yet somehow I still find Starbucks in my hand.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm really cheating on the local coffee shops of
Yeah.
Cincinnati by getting Starbucks, but
Well, we've got like 4 of them on campus.
Literally.
So they kind of set you up for that.
I mean, just in this building alone, we have one upstairs.
Yeah.
Which is so goated. I love that so much.
That's where you found me earlier.
Yeah.
That's where we met.
Because
Or not
God.
met, but
yeah, coffee's so good. No, actually, I've never met you before today.
yeah, I've never seen this man before in my life.
I don't even know what kind of tea is in here. There's 2 different bags. They don't look the same. One's definitely green tea, and one's definitely something else.
Yeah, I've never had a medicine ball before because, gonna be honest, it's like there's like one like medicine tea I've had before called like throat coat,
Oh,
and it like
that's what I
has
need right
like honey and stuff in it, and it like coats your throat with something that like soothes it. But like I hate how it tastes so much.
This is good.
Okay.
This is good.
Okay.
It's probably because it has steamed lemonade in it, and that's what's doing it for me. Is
It's
this?
also a Starbucks drink.
Yeah, they can't really. They don't really do it wrong. They just like add Starbucks in it. Starbucks is actually a seasoning. Yo, when I found out the other day that Starbucks, the character, is this chick is a character. This is Starbuck.
That's Starbuck?
And she is a character from Moby Dick. And that's where they got the...
My God.
Yeah. There was another podcast that gave me that information.
I feel so stupid.
I'm going to clip this because
that.
this is going to rock somebody's world. This information. It's not even related to creativity, but it's okay. I have all of these like super deep conversations. I just don't want to talk about any of them. Is that bad?
No, I understand that.
Like,
I get that.
Let's see. Try not to get caught. Oh, yeah. Like, try not to get caught up in where you're not. Get excited about where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great topic. I
It
would
is a
love
great
it. I
topic.
should probably expand upon that. My brain is just firing on like less cylinders than it should.
No, I get that. I'm like something like kind of like personal happened in my life recently that's like really been like kind of affecting like where I'm at personally. And like I've been talking to my mom about it a lot, and she's just been like, you're where you need to be, and like you really like don't appreciate like what that means until you're like actually in a moment where you have to like force yourself to be like, I am where I need to be right now, and I can't like rush this process, because if I do, then that's just going to be like bad. So like I don't know, that one like resonates because it's like, yeah.
No, I mean it's true. Like I mean I guess now we're here, but I heard this on a different podcast. Do you know Corridor Crew?
I do not.
Well, they have a podcast, and I heard it on there. And basically, like, I don't know why they like hit me really hard, at least in the moment, because like I think at least for me, like I'm always trying to like get super. I'm really ambitious, right? Like I'm always thinking about like all of these crazy business opportunities and all these movie ideas I have and all this kind of stuff, right? And like, why isn't Creative Digest the #1 podcast in the world? Like those types of things. Like I get super like caught up in that, and then like I'll just have these like random moments of like reality check, and like one person will like DM me and be like, hey, like listen to the podcast today, really resonated with it or whatever. It's like, dang, that's why I get excited about it. And because like it's not and I guess it would be nice to have, like so many thousands of people listening to the podcast, or, I don't know, whatever massive ambitious ambitious goal that I could have. But like, I don't know. I feel like I take larger strides. Like I get further whenever I stop caring about how far I go. Right. And like, which is kind of, it sounds anti-productive, but like, I guess that's just how it works out.
I get it. Like obsessing over where I'm going always forces me to not focus on the present.
Yeah.
So like if I'm sitting there, like, with our scripts, for example, it's like, like, I have to have, like, 55 pages due by tomorrow. Like, that's stressing me out so much. Like, how am I going to write 55 pages? You just sit down and you write in the moment.
You just do 1 page at a time.
Yeah. You just, like, you take it second at a time, moment at a time, sentence at a time, and you'll eventually get there. And you also, like, sometimes, like, with deadlines, you have to understand that, like, it's not the end of the world if you don't necessarily meet it.
Yeah. Like,
and also, like,
what are they going to do?
Shout out Sean one more time. Like, he's not going to hold that against us.
No, I'll shout that guy out so many times. I love that. No, you're right. And, like, there's no actual, like, pressure. And at least for me, though, like, when I start, like, focusing on, I guess referring to the script, but, like, I'll, like, write a line. And then because I'm not so focused on 3 pages from now, like, I'm just writing the scene I'm writing and the conversation I'm in, that's when I start getting, like, really excited about, like, ooh, what are they going to say next? And then I'm like, wait, I get to tell you what they say next. Like, all this kind of stuff. Like, I start, like, buying into the story, and it's because I wasn't, like, so focused on the end of the movie or, like, this crazy scene. Like, I had, it's like, wow, like, I forget who it was, but there's somebody in our class who started writing the middle of the script. Yeah. And they're like, well, because I have that idea done.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess, but, like,
there are, like, so many different types of writers, and I am somebody who, like, didn't understand for a really long time that, like, you don't have to necessarily have, like, a rigid structure by which you write. Like, if you have one scene in mind that you really want to write, you can write that scene when you want to write it. And that, like, blows my mind occasionally, where it's like, oh yeah, I don't necessarily have to write this in order.
Yeah.
It's just the way that I've always done it.
Yeah, and I know that's just, like, you were, I guess, referring to script writing or, I guess, screenplays and stuff. But do you, like, you had mentioned that you, like, read and you like to write. Have you ever written anything that's not a screenplay?
Oh, yeah.
Actually?
The fewest things I've written are screenplays.
Really?
I started writing, like, poetry in, like, my freshman year of high school, which is just, like, it's fun. It's, like, I don't know, I got really into, like, a lot of kind of shorter, very concise, like, sweet poems. Like The Orange by Wendy Cope is my favorite poem of all time, and I have a tattoo from it. It's my only tattoo, and, like, I will never not love that poem. And that is, like, the poem that kind of, like, got me to appreciate, like, what poetry, like, could be, and, like, the things that it could, like, the stories it could tell and the way that it could tell them. And then that kind of opened the door for me with, like, further appreciating, like, music and songwriting, which I've never, like, sat down and, like, written a song, but, like, there are, like, song lyrics that pop into my head sometimes. Yeah. I'm not a musician, though, so, like, not claiming to be in any sense. And then, like, I started writing stories, like, before I could, like, physically write. Like, oh, wow. I would tell my grandma stories. Or, like, I would force my family to listen to, like, these stories that I wrote at, like, the dinner table. And I'd be like, so this is what happens next in this. And then, like, one thing that, like, really helped with that was in the 5th grade, my English teacher, Mrs. Bade. Shout out Mrs. Bade. She's the best.
She's gutted.
It was, like, the first year in an English class that we had any focus on, like, creative writing or any emphasis. Because, like, up until that point, it had been very much, like, spelling and structure and everything. And I hadn't really enjoyed English class up to that point. Because, like, yeah, I could do it. But, like, I wanted to, like, talk.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Bade was the first teacher that it was, like, at least that, like, it stood out to me where we were doing creative writing in that way. And she really let us have free reign with it. And she was so encouraging and supportive. and she gave me so much feedback on things that I was working on. And it got to the point where, like, outside of class, I came up to her and I was like, hey, like, I have this story I've been writing in my notebook. I just finished it. I was wondering if you would want to read it. And, like, it was a complete, like, Harry Potter ripoff.
Sure.
But she never said that. That wasn't the feedback she gave to me. She sat down, she took it home with her, she read it, and she gave it back to me with notes. I still have the notes.
That's
like
goated.
The sticky notes that she had, and like the years following 5th grade, like if she would see me in the hallway, she'd be like, what are you working on? Tell me about it. And then the next year I had an entire class that was like creative writing. Like we had like English class, then we had creative writing class. And that teacher, Mrs. Roddy, was also super supportive and like so encouraging with like us wanting to like tell stories and express ourselves. And I think like a lot of my classmates had fun with that, but I know that it like really impacted me because like I had these teachers who I like felt pretty close to that were telling me like, we can tell you enjoy doing this and we want to hear more from you. And that just kind of like continued throughout middle school and then into high school, and I just like haven't stopped since really. Like I'll take breaks. Like I get writer's block. I need a break sometimes, but like I never want to stop writing.
Yeah, and like I think well that's cool. That's a cool story. I find myself as well, like, do you just kind of like, even when I'm exhausted for whatever reason, like stories just keep popping up or like some type of like creative aspiration. This to me, for me, is like a really great outlet. Like I'm able to just like, you know, plug into something and just kind of like run with it, which is really nice. Especially because it's like, it's not complex. There's no complexity to this. It's kind of just talk.
Yeah.
But with that being said, like when you just say like randomly like like a lyric will pop in your head and all this kind of stuff, and even that was starting at a young age, like, and you said a notebook, and I remember I had a story called The 24, and I don't remember fully what it's about, but I remember I wrote like 4 pages of it. I'm like, yo, I got a movie right here. And it was at my grandma's house that I wrote this story. Where it's at, couldn't tell you, but
no, I would love to like have those old notebooks if I could find them, but like they're buried somewhere. But like I remember the first time I like wrote something that hit like 40 pages long, and I was like, I'm an author. I was like, I've done it. It was like 40 pages. Yeah. And that's like that up to that point was like the most I had ever written. So that was like my biggest accomplishment. And I remember being like, and the story's finished.
Yeah, literally. Like you like got to the beginning and the end, and like I did that all the time, and like especially now. I mean, I'm in college, and this is like something that's really stretching. Like Sean's like, yeah, write a movie. I'm like, yo, wait, hold on. You mean like two hours? And he's like, yeah. Like not like a short film, like a movie. I'm like, yo, no, that's a lot. That's 120 pages.
Sean was like, you need to have 12 pages in by today. I was like, okay, Sean, what if it was 8 pages?
And he's like, yeah, but no.
He's like, it's good, but there needs to be more pages.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. He's like, he'll be like, I like what you have, but also change it all. I'm like, oh, okay. Sorry, Sean. Yeah, that's been those notes today. I mean, they were helpful, but also I felt like they were really vague. Yeah. Some of the notes people were getting, I was like,
it's scary to do peer critique because you like don't want to hurt someone's feelings, but like you also like don't want to tell them how to write their own story. Yeah. So it's like a fine line. And you were also, for context, we did like peer critiques of people's scripts, and Ashton went today. Like, you were the first person to go. Yeah. Like, so, nobody knows how to do this yet.
Exactly. Like they were. It seemed like they were already a little bit more fleshed out by the time they got to Clark. And I think that's around when you entered.
Yeah, I got there late.
Yeah, which was lame. No.
I'm sorry.
Like, clear jazz intentions. That was one of my notes. Have clear jazz intentions.
Yeah, I don't know that much about jazz, so I couldn't.
Well, like they were like
tell you what, and I didn't write that note, so I
I know.
don't know what that means.
Well, because they were like I want to see more of because my main character obviously is the jazz artist, right?
Yeah.
And my opening image technically isn't my, like, that crazy jazz. That's not my opening image, at least technically anymore.
Yeah.
That's now what Sean called a tone excerpt. And, like, he's like, you're allowed to have that, but, like, it's not your opening image. I'm like, oh, well, shoot. And he was like, you actually need to have all of your story here. I'm like, what? And so he was like, I need him to, like, be listening to jazz or something. Like, tell me he likes jazz without telling me he likes jazz type thing.
Like showing, not telling.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? You guys are so vague. I hate this. It's like, just tell me my story's good and tell me the one, you know. Just gas me up or something. Don't actually critique my script.
I'm, like, terrified for when we read mine because I know, like, the second the, like, voiceover pops up in the script, Sean's gonna, like, groan out loud, which is fair.
Yeah.
I get it. I also wish that I had thought of a way other than voiceover to write this.
Well, I'm literally. Well, I think your voiceover is fine because it's more.
It's also just
it's
in the first
narration.
scene.
It's also narration. Like, it's not. Like, it's somebody explaining what they're visually seeing. It's not just a voiceover.
Me and Jack were, like, last night, like, talking about it, and that, like, thinking back to that was cracking me up because half of that was just the two of us, like, staring at each other and being like, okay,
I think I know. Yeah.
Like, there was, like, not that much communicated there, but, like, it was like we were on, like, the same wavelength though type thing. But Jack is another one of our classmates who's working on scripts with us. Yeah, I'm, like, terrified for critique because, like, I feel like everyone's been kind of, like, this isn't to, like, brag or anything. I feel like I've been gassed up, and there's gonna be a point where someone's gonna be like, this is bad, and that is going to break me.
That's terrifying. Well, because I think it's going to be harder for you because you've been, like, working on it forever.
Yeah, I've been working on it for, like, a year. Like, it's not, like, a script that I thought of for the class. It was like, oh, hey, I could write this one now.
I have one of those that I've, like, been working on, and I thought about flushing that one out and doing that. And it was actually, like, me being like, ooh, I don't want anybody to, like, see this yet. Like, it's not, because I knew it wasn't that good yet. And so, like, but also I loved the story. And so I felt like I was just, like, putting my child out on the floor to die. Like, that's what it felt like if I would have presented that. Yeah. So I didn't. I was
like, I was scared to be like, so this is what I've been working on for, like, the past year, and, like, I hope you guys like it.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
Oh, like, we were talking about this with Jack last night. Like, I don't want to be perceived at all, but one of my favorite parts of the storytelling process is sharing the story with other people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So how the hell does that work?
It doesn't. Sadly, it doesn't, like, make any sense whatsoever. But, like, I think, like, I follow, obviously, 1.5 million creators, but, like, so many of them are always so big about just put your work out there. Like, whether it's be, like, if you're making a video, put it on, like, YouTube, or, like, and other people even go as far as to say, if you have, like, take photos and stuff, hang them up in your house. They're like, just be surrounded by your work. And so I guess that goes into what you're saying is, like, you know, part of what you love about the process is putting it out there, which is good, because that means you're not, like, terrified of, you know, your ego getting slammed through the floor.
Yeah.
Because, like, I talked on it a couple of podcasts ago. But basically, like, whenever you're creating, like, you are, like, portraying the rawest form of your emotion and just laying it out into a story form. Poetry, you get really raw. But then, like, obviously all the way up to, you know, a theatrical film or whatever, like, that's still, like, you have put all of yourself into, like, a story, and you just have to, like, hope you guys like it, because that's me, you know.
Yeah. It's, like, it's also really scary because, like, when you put a piece of art out into the world, you don't own it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, immediately that just becomes
public domain.
Yeah. Like,
yes.
So many, like, an artist who wrote a song, when they, like, Dave Grohl has a quote of, like, he loves, like, having, like, concerts where, like, everybody is shouting the lyrics back at him because that song and those lyrics mean something different to every single person shouting them back at him.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's a song by the Foo Fighters, but
I don't know much of the Foo Fighters, so I'll take your word
Dave
for it.
Grohl's the drummer for the Foo Fighters.
Okay.
But or no, he's not the drummer. That was Taylor Hawkins. He was the drummer for Nirvana.
Oh no.
Dave Grohl is also a drummer. But I don't think he drums for Foo Fighters. I'm gonna get flamed for that.
It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, like that quote, like I don't know. First time I heard it, I was like, oh shit, yeah. Like
Yeah.
it like art means something different to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's also like insane the way that like art can change over time in meaning. Like something that you made at one point in time has like a completely different meaning to you later. Like the lyric in Night Shift by Lucy Dacus is like, in 5 years, I hope the songs feel like covers dedicated to new lovers.
Yeah.
Because like
good.
that's like, in my opinion, the ultimate breakup song. And that lyric is so like visceral in terms of like, in like 5 years down the line, these words from whatever song she's referring to are not going to hold the same meaning.
No.
And they're going to be dedicated to a different couple who's fallen in love.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a love song that means something different to them than
crazy.
it did to like me and my partner. And like that, it's like art's so cool.
Art is
in that
really
way.
cool.
I love that stuff.
I don't think it was Good Will Hunting, but it was Robin Williams. That's why I just accidentally refer. I love Good Will Hunting. My best friend
movies.
put me onto it.
So did my
way
best
back
friend.
in the day. Yeah, he's a screenwriter. Talk about a talented screenwriter. This kid's insane. No, but yeah, there was a quote from Robin Williams, and he was like, you know, we need doctors, we need lawyers, we need, you know, teachers, all this kind of stuff. He was like, but the reason we have all those things is so that we can create poetry, is what he said. But like art, it's so that like we have everything. We go out and make money. We like wake up and do a 9 to 5. You go to school. I pay whatever tuition to this place just so one day I can make art. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like,
it like that reminds me of how like over the pandemic, like I saw somebody talking about how they were like, remember like next time like the conversation about essential workers comes up, like when all else failed, like everybody turned to art.
Yeah.
Like people like were looking for things to watch, looking for things to do to fill their time, and they turned to like TV and movies and podcasts and stuff like that. Like and also like someone else, I don't know who, made a really interesting point how like when all obstacles are like removed and you have the opportunity, like specifically with nepotism babies, they're set up so that like they can do whatever they want. They have the like support they need, they have the money they need, and like they're, if they like go into the arts and like quote unquote fail,
like they're good,
they're still good. But so many of them choose to take that track knowing that they're likely to succeed because of who their parents are. And this isn't me like trying to like put down like any of these like artists, because like I love many of these artists. But, like Maya Hawke, Gracie Abrams, Maud Apatow, Drew Barrymore, there's like a million others, but like so many of those people, like they have like, they could do anything they wanted, and with no obstacles to stop them, they chose art
to create. Or
and I think that was a really like cool point that like somebody made. And obviously like that's subjective, it varies from person to person, but I do think that like art is something that like often gets diminished or like looked down on, like as something that like society necessarily needs to survive.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like if you like look back to it, like I mean, people were creating when they had like whatever form of communication they had, they still figured out a way to like portray themselves or whatever. Like whether it be in statues or like they just like the other day just dug up this like I don't know what you call it. Like it was like a mosaic or whatever. Like the floor is just like an art piece, and they just like found it, and they were like, yeah, this dates back to whatever early century place. And I'm like, I don't know, that's crazy. It's like they didn't have all the modern stuff that we have to just casually get on a podcast and talk or whatever. But they were like, yeah, what I have to say feels so important that I'm going to chisel it into a rock. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And like you also like I like obviously I can't speak for them because I'm not them, but like they probably weren't thinking about like how that's going to be preserved.
Yeah.
Or like how people 200 years from now, like that wasn't necessarily a priority when they were making it.
Yeah.
And like the fact that we have it still is so cool.
So cool.
And like that stuff just like gives me like chills to think about that, like how like however old humans are, however old human nature is, storytelling has been around for just as long.
Yeah. Which is insane to me.
It's so insane. And I love that so much.
Well, and I had somebody bring this point up once before, and I'm just like, it was like, yeah, 100%. That's why I do it. Like, that's why I do what I do. Because they were like, you're just like a modern day scribe. When I was when I was telling them, like, I was like, yeah, I make movies and like whatever. And they're like, yeah, you're like a modern day scribe. Every king, every whatever, anybody who was anybody had a scribe. They literally just had a homie who walked around and just said, yeah, I'm gonna write that down. Like that was good. Let me write that down real quick. And it's like that's just what we do now. Like we scribe. I mean, even like there's like even like biblical reference and stuff. Like the reason the songs of David and stuff were recorded was because of the scribes that were in the quote tabernacle of David and like that type of stuff. It's like, yeah, like somebody was there to capture it, and you're like,
it was someone's like job or somebody wanted to write that down.
So that gasses me up. That gets me excited.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like there's a song by the band Bastille called "The Poet." I really love that song because the lyrics are like, now you'll live through the ages. I can feel your heart in the pages. And like there's another lyric that's like something like, in eyes not yet created, on tongues that are not born, I have written you down now and you will live forever. And like that's just like that song like is like the like not pinnacle, but like it really captures the like kind of sentiment that we're talking about. I feel like, and I love that song. Well, shout out Bastille. Good band. Shout out Bastille.
Yeah, gotta love them. What's that one like one song that was like super popular? Pompeii. Yeah. The one.
It goes so hard.
I remember being I don't know what age I was, but that was my song. Yeah. You best believe.
Oh my God, listening to that.
I developed a whole British accent because of that band. I was all over them. Oh my God.
I saw them live my sophomore year of high school. Absolutely life changing.
Oh yeah.
I remember like they played Pompeii, and I turned to my sister and I was like, because it's like their most popular song, I was like, I kind of forgot how hard this goes, and like so cool to like see live. And then there was a point where like the lead singer Dan Smith got like into the crowd and was like walking through, and he was closer to me at one point than we are right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then I tripped and fell on my face.
No.
And I told my English class about it the next day because that was like a Sunday night, and then like
class
on Monday. And I remember my English teacher, she said some pretty out of pocket things to me my junior year of high school, but one of them was like, well, just think, if you hadn't like fallen on your face, maybe you could have just met the love of your life. And I was like, he is 30.
Yeah, and I'm in high school.
And I am 16.
Yeah, let's maybe not do that.
I was like, he's a 30-year-old British man who probably has a partner.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about him, but
to
like not, confirm that. But
he's
like,
not one of those bands that I'm just
I don't think that would have worked out in the Wattpad fan fiction way you're thinking of.
No, my story about Bastille is a little less embarrassing, but it's cringy nonetheless. So the reason I heard about Bastille, the reason I found out about them was because I was watching that Ellen DeGeneres show. I don't know why. I don't know why I was, but they performed Pompeii on there, and I was like, yo, this song goes crazy. Yeah.
Do you want to know something very funny?
Yeah.
That is how I found out who Brockhampton was.
Yo. Yo, that's so funny.
Because when, like, my parents sometimes, specifically my dad, like, he went through, like, a phase where, like, if the Ellen Show was on, he was just, like, watching it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was, like, during, like, when their song, like...
You didn't turn it on, okay.
It was, like, Sugar, I think is what it's called, was, like, really popular.
Okay.
It was, like, 2 or 3 years ago.
By, like, Maroon 5?
No, by Brockhampton.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, they performed it, and I was just, like, sitting in the living room with my dad.
You're like, yeah.
And I was like, that's cool.
My buddy,
pretty good.
my buddy who goes here, he is in a band, but their, like, sound and stuff is, like, very Brockhampton.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, they somehow were able to get connected, and now their graphic designer for all of their, like, cover art and stuff like that is the graphic designer for Brockhampton, or at least it was, but they're not a thing anymore. But
Holy crap.
yeah, like, he just, like, casually slipped that in a conversation. I said, hold on. What? And he was like, yeah, like, we just, like, basically, like, just hit him up one day and was like, we love your work. And he was like,
That's
yo,
so cool.
I love your guys' work. And then they just kind of...
That's one of my favorite things about, like, the, like, arts industries, because, like, you can just, like, reach out to someone and be like, I'm a fan of your work, and they're like, oh my god, I'm a fan of your work. And then you guys are both just sitting there like, oh my god, really?
Are we best friends now?
Do you, like, want to be friends? Like, my mom said that we can go see this movie if your mom can, like, pick
play
us up.
Mermaids? Wait,
yeah.
I mean, literally, I love that so much.
Yeah.
There was, like, some kids in, like, the DAP program that I, like, just, like, hit up, and I'm like, because, like, you know, those DAP kids go crazy sometimes.
Absolutely, they do.
And so I'm like, yo, you're, like, extremely talented. You want to be on my podcast? And then there was one guy that's going to be on here, and he's, like, not from the U.S. And I'm not 100% sure where he's from, but he, I just, like, saw him on Instagram one day. I was like, oh, yo, like, love your work, all this kind of stuff. And then I just, like, stumbled onto his TikTok, and he's, like, TikTok famous.
Oh, shit.
Like, a few million followers. I'm like, yo, what? Like, just casually at UC, just a little TikTok famous boy. Yeah, I just thought that was cool. He, like, draws and stuff.
Oh, cool.
He got famous because he did 100 sketches in 100 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a girl in my, like, junior year English class who, like, her TikTok blew up because, like, she did, like, art and stuff.
That's cool.
She did a really good job with that.
I have a TikTok, but nobody follows it, so
yeah,
it's whatever. Like, I'm not butthurt about it. Yeah, I put stuff on it just for, like, the sake of putting stuff on it, but, like, I guess I don't really care about it blowing up because, like, I've looked at people blowing up and it doesn't seem to do much for them.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like, you have, like, your Charlie D'Amelio's and stuff, or, like, I don't know, whatever, the people who just went mad big, right? That's a different story. But I don't know, like, some of the people that I follow on TikTok, it's like, yeah, they have a couple million, but then, like, I would just, like, go to their Instagram, and it's like they just have, like, 2,000 followers.
Yeah.
Like, they're not famous by any means, like, actually.
Yeah, it's like online presence is such, like, a weird thing.
Especially
right
now, yeah.
You can have, like, millions of followers, but, like, no one knows who you are.
Yeah.
Which is, like, such an interesting concept.
That's
and,
poetic in itself. Just saying. That's
one
crazy.
Of my friends, we were talking about this in terms of, like, one of my friends, like, had, like, ghosted someone she had been talking to on Tinder.
Yeah.
And she felt really bad about it. And our friend was like, we were never supposed to know this many people.
Yeah.
And, like, he said that, and we were like, damn, you're right.
Yeah,
like,
we're not meant to be so connected with the world. The fact that I can literally look at my computer and have access to literally all of the world's stress and put it on my shoulders like that. Like, that's wild to me.
And, like, somebody said something to me of, like, we absorb more information and news in a day than, like, a medieval peasant would in, like,
their lifetime.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I never really thought about it like that. Like, that is
Crazy.
Yeah, the like amount of like information that like we consume and the rate that we like consume it at is like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Like
my mom was talking to me not too long ago, and like she was like, like you're smart and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, thanks, like whatever, just as moms do. She was like, no, like you just like have information that's just like how, like, and I'm like, well, probably because like I just can. Like one of the reasons that I like got so in fact like quickly evolved in like filmmaking and stuff was just because like YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have to wait for anything. Like I just had at the, in bed at 3 a.m. I'd just be scrolling through like shot techniques, like that type of stuff. And it's like we just have so much information. Half of my professors refer to YouTube and like websites whenever they're like,
yeah,
here's an example of how this is done. Like they don't have to bring a camera to class anymore and illustrate it.
I saw a TikTok the other day of somebody who was like filming their film class, and they like the professor had like a Killing Eve like fan edit that was like that they were all just like sitting like, and they had like they were all like so serious just like taking notes watching it, and it was like this like Cannibal by Kesha was playing over the video.
Stop.
And like
No.
it was so funny because it was just like a random like fan edit, and it was like all the comments were like, this is so film school.
Literally. This is
like,
so film school.
No, for real. Like
I remember like my intro to media class, like some of the stuff we'd watch in there, it's just like he would be like, this is like you'd go through and like describe a J cut, and then we would just like watch 5 minutes of Spider-Man for no reason. It's like that felt like a waste of my time.
Yeah, no, I was like, it's so funny to me because like there are like a lot of like assignments and things that we do in certain classes that like I feel like do hold importance and are like really cool. But like there was one point last year where like the guy I was dating was talking about like all the homework he had for his engineering class, and he was like, what do you need to do? And I was like, I have to watch Ice Age by Wednesday.
I have to do a literary analysis on The Social Network.
Yeah, I was like, like I literally just have to watch Ice Age. Like,
that's so awesome.
That is my homework.
I do have to watch The Social Network. Dadgummit. I just remember that's a homework I have to do. I've already watched it, so I probably won't watch it for this homework.
Yeah,
like I just have to make a screen response. It's like a page.
Yeah.
Eek.
Yeah, I did that earlier for Moonrise Kingdom.
Yo, that movie is so good.
It's so good.
Oh, well, I'm thinking of the right one. That's Wes Anderson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's so good. I love Wes Anderson.
It's my sister's favorite Wes Anderson film.
He's my father. I love that man.
I like his movies feel very like scrapbook like to me.
They do. Yeah, that is a great description of Wes Anderson. He's just a moving scrapbook.
I stole that from my friend, the same one who thought my last name was Smith for 2 years.
Well, because of that, now it's your quote.
She owes me.
Yeah, that's your quote at this point. Yo, we've been talking for an hour.
Good for us.
That's crazy.
This is what happens when two film majors sit in a room and
Chop it
aren't
up.
told to shut up.
Literally. And I feel like we haven't even talked that much about film.
I know.
Maybe we have, and I'm just like numb to it at this point. But yeah, I feel like we haven't like dove into film. What have you been working on? Like, do you have any like pieces that you're about to put out or have put out?
It's a really great question. There's a lot of like companies I've worked for in the past that have like definitely put things out that I was a part of.
Okay.
There's some stuff that like I don't have any updates on because the company that it was under like doesn't exist anymore, so I have no idea what happened to it. So I like don't feel like I can't be like, check this out.
Yeah.
That like I was a PA on this set, like but I mean, other than like most of like my energy has been focused on like our screenplays in class right now.
Yeah.
But there's been like a couple like photography projects that I've been a part of like over the past like 6 months or so that have been pretty fun. There's this photographer who's kind of like local to the Cincinnati area. Her name is Erica Almquist. She's really cool. Highly recommend checking her out. I did a shoot with her and another person that I work with pretty frequently named Savannah Webb earlier this summer, and that was really fun. I was just kind of like a PA, like I wasn't holding the camera, Erica was. But like that was a really fun shoot to do, and I think the photos were like for a private thing, so like they were never like put out, but check out Erica's work because she's really good at what she does.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. Love this. This is pretty big. I put a lot of focus into this for like no reason.
Yeah.
Well, because the podcast has been going for like a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I started last August.
Yeah.
And it was kind of spotty. Like, you know, there's like episodes,
mm-hmm.
right? But it wasn't as like intense as I'm going like now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just in the last like 2 weeks, I've recorded 4 episodes,
mm-hmm.
released 2, because I'm just gonna release 1 a week.
Yeah.
And then like it's now in video form. It's just like everything is just like taking like a massive jump up.
Yeah.
Obviously quality as well. So yeah, that's been a big focus. Obviously, my scripts. This last year I did I was the DP on my friend set. Basically, he's in Chicago, so that was
mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
I was there for a week just filming, which was fun.
Yeah.
But the movie I don't think is gonna come out until like spring.
Yeah. Yeah, everything that I've worked on has been like stuff that other people have like asked me to come and do in the past like couple years. I haven't really had a lot of my own stuff that I've been able to put out, mostly lack of resources and also lack of like time. But I mean, a few years ago, toward the tail end of my junior year of high school, I did a radio piece for YSO back in Dayton, Ohio. They do like Dayton Youth Radio, and they have local high schoolers come on and do like radio pieces, so that was pretty cool. So that's out there. I've been on another podcast called Hey Jesse that was like the summer between my junior and senior year of high school, I think.
I'm just thinking of Debbie Ryan right now. I'm sorry.
No, the like tagline for it was like, it feels like a party every day.
Stop.
But like the guy who like did it, his name is Jesse.
Oh.
Spelled Jesse.
So.
But yeah, I'm sorry if I just got you like copyright struck, Jesse. You don't deserve that.
No. He's good. He's good. He's gonna be fine.
That was fun. That like whole like podcast premise was like Jesse wanted to like meet a bunch of people and like have conversations with people that he wouldn't normally have had them with. So he started with one friend that he knew, and then he asked that friend to ask another friend that he didn't know to be a guest. And then that friend like, so like the previous guest like always introduced the next one.
That's cool.
And so that's how like I got to be on it, kind of like.
It feels a lot like was it David David Letterman, my what is this show? My Next Guest Is?
Yeah,
is that what it was?
like introducing or my next guest needs no introduction or something like that.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
But yeah, so that was a cool experience. But most of the stuff that I've worked on in the past 2 years has been pretty exclusively for school or personal. Yeah. But like I have a couple projects coming up that I'd really like to actually have like come to fruition. And like I tried to make a short film my senior year of high school that like we filmed, we wrote the script, we did all of that, and I sat down to edit it and I just could not do it. Like,
do you saw the footage, the raw footage?
Yeah. I'm like terrified to look at it though, especially because like I'm in it because we didn't have anybody else.
Yeah.
And I don't want to look at myself.
Yeah.
And it was also like kind of a rushed production because like we just wanted to make it. So like it wasn't as streamlined as it could have been. There weren't really any rehearsals. Like we just like did like one table read over like a Zoom call and then we filmed it. And it was just like, it's messy. It's not exactly what I would have wanted it to be, but it is like, it was like the first ever thing that I made on my own.
Yeah.
And so maybe one day, like, I'll be able to, like, stomach, like, sitting down and watching all that footage back. But I think I've grown a lot, both as, like, somebody who knows what they're doing on a set, and I trust myself more to, like, make something that I want to make.
Yeah.
So the next thing I make, I will sit down and edit it.
Yeah, and what you also don't have to be the one to edit it.
This is true,
Like, that's part of... So, like, I've made a short film a year since 2020. So I made 3 total in the last 3 years. Like, and I say short film, like, as in, like, 30 minutes. It's like a budgeted film from start to finish. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we do casting. But so for 2 of them, I was for all 3 of them, I was the DP for. For the first one, I executive produced. The second one, again, I was just like the DP. I guess I did some producing because, like, I did script and scheduling stuff. But then this last one, I was strictly the DP. Yeah. And so, like, my titles just keep getting, like, which is good. Like, this is how the industry works, right? Now, like, because I was originally supposed to edit the one that we filmed this year. But I was like, now that it's in somebody else's hands, like, somebody else is editing it, and I'm like, dang, like, they didn't trust me to edit it, this, that, and the third. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Like, that's not at all what they were thinking. Like, it was just...
Yeah, I, like... The place that, like, I came from in terms of, like, creating, it was, like, you made and edited all your own stuff. Yeah. So I'm not, like, used to handing it off to somebody else.
It's terrifying.
And I feel scared asking someone else to do that because it's, like, I don't like editing. I would love for somebody else to do it. But it's, like, you have to look at what I filmed.
Yeah, the rawest form, too.
Yeah, like what if you don't like it?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like whenever you're, like, taking like, whenever I'm, like, out taking pictures, like, getting video and stuff, I'm like, oh, yo, this is gas, right? Like, I'll get super excited. And they're like, oh, let me see. Like, well, it's going to be cool. Like, it's going to be cool later. Like, trust me. And they're like, no, like, it's fine. I'm like, you know, I always hate showing them the raw because it's like, it's not done. You don't see what's up here. Yeah.
It's like, you just don't understand.
Yeah. And I've tried to do...
I'm an artist.
Literally. I'm like, yeah, there's something here.
Yeah.
I try to do these, like, exercises on, like, my Instagram or, like, my YouTube or whatever of just, like, small, almost, like, non-narrative concepts that are just, like, me with an idea. Like, almost, like, putting pen to paper, but it's putting, like, idea to screen type thing.
Yeah.
So it's, like, whether it be... I've never really worked with blues before. So it's, like, okay, I'm going to make a... thing centered around the color blue and like that type of stuff. Like, I would just do, like, micro exercises so that, like, I feel a little bit more confident working on a larger set. I don't know what information, if that information has value, but that's what I did.
Yeah, I, like, it kind of astounds me sometimes. Maybe this is just because I have control issues or something, but I don't necessarily see myself first and foremost as a writer. I love writing. It's one of my favorite things in the world. But, like, I don't want to, like, pigeonhole myself as, like, I'm just a writer. Because, like, if I write something, I'm going to want to make that thing. Yeah. And I don't want to not be involved in the making of it. Like, I'd love to direct that if I could. Or, like, just be heavily involved. So, like, it's hard for me to, like, grasp how, like, other, like, writers and, like, screenwriters in the industry are so okay with, like, just selling their work.
Literally.
And, like, having it be sent off to be made, and then they have, like, no more control over it. Because it's like, but I wrote that. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I want to be on set.
It's terrifying. Yeah, like, my best friend who is a screenwriter, like, he, like, that's all he does. Like, I mean, he obviously wants to direct, and, like, film school has forced him to, like, get into some other stuff, right? But he, like, in his early days, he was like, how do I make money off of scripts? And so, like, we just had some people who, like, we know from the industry, and they were like, well, sell it. Like, option your scripts, like, this, that, and the third. And he was like, okay, cool. Like, so I could just, like, sell my ideas and, like, be a part of all these things. And he's like, they were like, well, no. Like, you would write a script, and you just get rid of it. Yeah. And he's like, yo. They're like, they would credit you as, like, a script writer, but, like, that's it.
And, like, after you sell it, like, they own it now. Yeah. And they can change anything they want.
They can change all of it. Yeah.
Which, like, you know, sometimes a certain story needs to be told a certain way, and you're not the person fully equipped to tell that story
Yeah.
in that way. But that's scary to admit.
Yeah.
And that's scary to, like, put out there.
Putting your ego in check.
Yeah. Because, like, I mean, obviously, like, that's not a personal thing. Like, no one's being like, you're a bad storyteller, so we're going to change everything.
Yeah.
But, like, it's hard to not take it that way sometimes,
Yeah.
especially when you're not used to that
Yeah.
as, like, what you're doing.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, we obviously grew up in, like, the conducive environment of, like, you have an idea, it's yours, you, like, good job you, like, all this kind of stuff. And then, like, obviously, even in our industry, right, when people are, like, be realistic, be a doctor, this, that, and the third, but then going all the way into our in our industry, people are like, be realistic. Like, you're not going to be able to, like, you're going to have to sell this. Like, you're not going to have full control over this, that, and the third. And you're like, what? Why not?
Yeah. And, like, the, like, pitch presentations scare me so much because it's like, if you give not enough information, they're not going to be interested. They're not going to take you seriously. If you give too much, they'll be like, okay, yeah, we'll get back to you. And then they'll just take the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be, like, vague enough to, Which, I mean, I don't know. You have to, like, give them, I guess that's where NDAs come into play, right?
Yeah.
You just give them non-disclosure agreements whenever you start pitching.
You don't necessarily have the power in that situation.
Yeah. Well, I guess unless you, like, get your script, what's the word?
Copyrighted?
Copyright, yeah. Which I didn't realize the Constitution has copyright laws built into it.
Yeah.
Which blew my mind. I'm like, when did these homies way back in the day start thinking, these people are going to need protection over intellectual property? Like, what? Like, to me, that blew my mind. I found that out, like, a week ago.
Really?
To me, that was really new information, which I guess was, like, cool because I'm like, shoot. Like, there's, like, actual systems in place to, like, protect this, like, what's up here.
Yeah.
Because, dude, people are snakes. That look, I have to do this presentation for one of my classes, and I have, like, 3 ideas on there that I'm, like, really stoked about. I'm like, shoot, I have 3 ideas that I'm really stoked about, and none of them are protected.
Yeah.
And we have to do small group presentations, and I'm like,
someone could take this.
Somebody
from me.
totally could take this. Like,
and I couldn't do anything about it.
Literally, I'm like, so. Well, it depends on the state you're in. And in Ohio, luckily, like, I don't have to get it copyright to prove that it's intellectual property.
Yeah.
So, like, I can, like, if something happened and it was, like, clearly a direct ripoff, then I could say, they were in my class. I presented to them at this date. Here's when I made it. Here's when they made it. He stole it, right?
Yeah. And there's also, like, there's a fine line there because, like, someone could be given the same prompt.
Yeah.
And make something that, like, on a basis level is very similar, but it's like a completely different thing. Like, there was that lawsuit with, like, the TV show Abbott Elementary.
Yeah.
A woman was claiming that, like, she had been ripped off.
Yeah.
And that she had come up with that idea. But, like, her idea was just a workplace comedy set in an underfunded school.
Yeah, and, like, that's so vague.
Yeah, which is, like, a very broad idea. And, like, yeah, that at the base level is what Abbott Elementary is.
Yeah. But also, like, you didn't come up with the complex
Mhm.
characters, the dialogue, like...
Like, there's so many more details that go into that that, like, weren't stolen. So even if that, like, concept or idea was, which it probably wasn't because it's not that hard to come up with, like... oh, what if I made a workplace comedy set in literally any setting?
Yeah, like, what if I made The Office here?
Yeah.
What if I made Parks and Rec here? Like,
I feel like that's what, like, every media kid does. If
Yeah.
they're in, like, their first media space, they're like, what if we made something like The Office, but here?
Yeah.
Like,
oh
that
my gosh,
is
yeah.
a thought that crosses every media kid's mind.
Oh, yeah. One of the ideas is, like, an Office-style show, but that follows a, like, back of house production team touring with, like, the young version of Justin Bieber.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I had one like that. It was like a workplace comedy set at like lifeguards working at a pool over the summer.
It's genius.
Which, like,
great.
I thought would be, like, so funny because, like, I was a lifeguard for 3 years. And there's so much material there.
I'm sure.
Like,
yeah.
The weirdest stuff happens at pools. Do you know how many times I have had to clean human feces off of the floor?
Actually, that's wild.
Because it's more than once.
That's crazy. The fact that it's more than 0 is what's blowing my mind.
Mm-hmm. One time, like, we were cleaning the bathroom, and one of my coworkers, like, walked into a stall and just then, like, walked straight back out. And I was like, he didn't really clean that. So I walked in and I looked down. There was just a turd on the floor. And I was like,
how do you miss?
And I was like, is that poop? And I just heard him go, yup. And then, like, that was, like, the second one that
What do
week.
you do? Get a shovel?
What we would do is, like, shovel or, like, scoop it up somehow.
Stop. No, I didn't actually want to
discard it, and then we would get, like, chlorine and water and mix that together and dump it in the spot it had been and then scrub it and then rinse it. And that would be how we would clean. We would just, like, sterilize it.
And that is why you always wear flip-flops when you're going to the pool.
Yes. Please, for the love of God, don't pee in the pool. Don't poop in the pool. And wear Crocs or flip-flops or sandals.
Just put wear socks for all I care. Put something on the bottom of your feet.
Yeah.
You grody athlete foot looking. Ugh, it's disgusting. Well, Molly, it's an hour and 16 minutes.
All right.
That
on that note of the human feces.
On that note of the human feces. This is the longest I've talked on a podcast. So, and my voice is falling apart at the seams. Where can they go to follow you? If you want people to follow you.
Yeah, sure. I'm on Instagram, illiterate_strawberry.
Okay.
That's me.
I'll put that in the show notes below for sure.
Yeah.
And if you wanna catch an episode, you can either follow the what's that thing called? The Spotify,
yeah.
Apple Podcasts, and now the YouTube.
Yo.
There's a video form of this. Exhibit A, the pita bread. There's a video form of this now, so you can go on YouTube. You can catch this. Yeah, so just come back next week when Molly learns how to take a wheelchair.
Huh?
Over there.